We had a great night round who approached us within a couple of meters. Didn't expect that species to be seen there. Our first rare bird found on a big day in the Fochteloërveen. Good morning guys, it's May 7th, almost 3 a.m. in the morning. And Willem and I are going to do a big day in the Fochteloërveen again. Now the first target is to get at least 100 species, which should be doable. Then we have the target of 124 species, which Willem got on May 21st of last year. And then the ultimate goal is to get above the 131 species Jeroen, Willem and I got on April 30th of 2022. I've made a video about that big day and I've linked that in the description.
The Fochteloërveen is situated on the border of the provinces of Friesland and Drenthe. The core area consists of mainly moorland and heathland. On the north and south side of the area is a small forest situated, and furthermore a buffer zone has been created between the core area and the surrounding agricultural land to battle the effects of nitrogen deposition. The buffer zone consists of wetland and more extensively used agricultural fields. In orange you can see the area in which we try to see as many species as possible. Our first bird of the day was a blue-throat, followed by some other reed warblers and species like Eurasian bittern, common crane, who were awake early, and also whooper swans. We started the day in the wetland on the west side of the area, with our main target being the spotted crake. We also heard some Canada geese, but in the Netherlands we can't count exotic or escaped birds, even though they might have a stable and self-sustaining population. We then biked to the north side of the area, as this is in early May the only spot where you can get European nightjar, and on our way there we had a long-eared owl sitting on a pole next to the road. We also heard some waders calling and a windchat singing, which is nice because that saves us time later on the day, as we don't have to search for that species. While we were waiting for the nightjar to start singing, we had a very cool moment when a badger crossed the path. Something we definitely didn't expect to see on this day. We then biked through the woods for a woodcock snipe, which we heard, to the start of the bicycle path that splits the area, as this is the best spot for common snipe in the early morning. Another very good species here was a flyby little ringed plover, and although they can be seen in the area, that's far from guaranteed. In 2022, skylark was only our 120th species, but now we hear a couple singing in the early morning.
It's now after 7 a.m. We had a great night round. I give it a 7 out of 10 because we had a spotted crake, water rail, common and woodcock snipe, also the common nightjar, tawny owl, and a bonus as a long-eared owl was sitting on a pole alongside the road. But we missed common quail and barn owl, and we also didn't have any bonuses like a common nightingale, for instance. But very happy with the night round after all.
After finishing up the night round, we biked back to where we had parked the car, and then we went into the wetland area again, but now we biked all the way to the most western point of it, because there a marsh warbler was reported a few days ago, and that would be a good species to get. At this time it was still dawn, but we could add many singing species to the list. In between checking all the bird songs, we also enjoyed this nice sunrise. Upon arriving in the wetland, we saw a white dot, which turned out to be our first spoonbill of the day. And we also saw a large group of great white egrets, not very common this late in May. And also we got the marsh warbler after some searching, but sadly there was no Savvy's warbler present. Another good species was a flyby gargany. As the sun was now fully up, we added a lot of common species to the list. The best bird was the singing willow tit, which is sometimes a bird that is very hard to get on a big day. And before going into the woods, we wanted to get the golden oriole, which is present in a patch of trees near the bird hide. It didn't take long for us to hear the species singing. We then decided to swiftly check the adjacent field with some ponds, but we only find some common species like grey heron, tufted duck and yellow wagtail. Now it was really time to bike to the northeastern side of the area, where also a small patch of wetland is situated, where we always find one or two good species. While biking through the woods, we got a first batch of typical forest species, with the best ones being the half-finch and the crested tit. Since the bike path is at the edge of the forest, we could also check the barns at the other side of the road, and there we got some good species like black redstart and lesser whitethroat. We then arrived at the small wetland area, where indeed two good birds were present, a common sandpiper and a grey-headed blacktail, which we count as a full species here in the Netherlands.
After finishing up the night round, we didn't directly go into the woods, but instead we went to the wetland area on the west side of the Fochteloërveen. And there we had a marsh warbler, which is a very good species here. And also we heard the whooper swans, which is also a very good species. Then we had the golden oriole near the height at the pond. But at the pond there weren't any ducks we were searching for. So then we moved on to the woods at the Bankenbos. And there we first checked the small wetland area in the more southeasterly side of the area. There we had a common sandpiper and a grey-headed wagtail, which were great. And now we're at the S Lake, where we have eared grebes and also a woodlark, which we missed on the last episode of the big day. So it's going very nice, but we also miss a lot of species. So let's see how far we can get.
At the S Lake, three species of grebe were present: a pair of eared grebe, a pair of great crested grebe, and a calling little grebe. But the best bird of this spot was a woodlark, which we missed in 2022. There were also two gulls flying overhead together, one black-headed gull and one common gull, the last one being a very good species for May. One of the hardest species to get here is the collared dove, but this time we got a flyby. The next stop was the watchtower, located southwest from the S Lake, where also a wetland area has been created. Here we got a fourth and rarest species of grebe of the day, a redneck grebe. And from the watchtower you can, however at a very large distance, see the nest of the white-tailed eagle. Suddenly Willem shouted, "Bullfinch!" a species we had missed in the woods earlier.
It is now 8:45. We've reached the 100 species mark with a lesser blackback gull flying over. We had some great species here like red-necked grebe and the white-tailed eagle on its nest. So that was very cool. We also thought we heard a middle-spotted woodpecker calling, but we didn't see it, so we can't exclude a jay or something like that. So we're gonna look for it. Hopefully we'll see it and we can count it. When we were about to leave, we heard the woodpecker calling again, and then we actually saw a woodpecker flying. So middle spotted woodpecker in the bag.
We then biked back through the woods to the log to search for grey wagtail and scoring 2 missing tit species, gold tit and marsh tit.
We just had a very lovely encounter with 2 wood warblers who approached us within a couple of meters. We could watch them really nicely. What a moment.
But at the biggest log, where traditionally grey wagtail would breed, there was none present. We then checked the most northerly log, but to no avail.
Sadly, it seems like we're dipping the grey wagtail. But we got a nice moment when a kingfisher was flying over the field here. Didn't expect that species to be seen there, but it's on the list.
We then went back to the westernmost wetland area for the 3rd time today to hopefully score some missing duck species. But along the way we got a very good species, a pied wagtail, which also counts as a full species in the Netherlands. We sadly didn't get any new duck species, nor a bearded reedling or savage warbler. Next up was to search for the redback shrike at the buffer zone, at the spot where the blue-cheeked bee-eater was last year. But here we couldn't find it, so we moved on and we found one further along the road. To get the best possible shots of this beautiful species, I quickly grabbed my converter.
We've just got redback shrike, and if we've counted correctly, that's species 114.
Next on the agenda was the watchtower de Zeven, located in the Ravenswoud. And to get there, we had to bike through the village with the same name. And here I found a magpie, a species which can be very hard to find in this area. From the watchtower, we heard and saw a common raven. But the real treat was a group of a dozen hobbies that were hunting, sometimes very close by.
We are now standing at Watchtower de Zeven, where we just found a adult female red-footed falcon hunting between all the hobbies here. Very cool! Our first rare bird found on a big day in the Fochteloërveen.
We also saw some more black-headed gulls, and amongst them 2 little gulls. The Ravenswoud is normally a very good spot for black woodpecker, but we didn't see or hear any. Then we had to find some rooks, which we did, but on the other side of the road there was a pair of cranes with a young, and of course we stop for a moment to film them.
After like 8 whooper swans, we finally got a mute swan.
The last area we checked before getting some dinner was this sand excavation lake.
We are now at the sand excavation lake, where we've added 3 new species to our day list. The sand martin, barnacle geese and northern wheatear, which brings a total to 123 species. One more to go to equal Willem's record of May last year.
While biking back to the car, we noticed a common viper on the road that has now been closed down for motorized traffic.
After we had some dinner, we scored Eurasian tree sparrow, so we equaled Willem's number of last year. We are now at the bee-eater path, as we like to call it, to hopefully add some more forest species to our list.
This path is located near the Kampioensbossen, and we call it this way because during our Friesland Big Day of 2021 we actually found the rare bee-eater here.
And we've just heard common quail, 125! Let's go!
In the Kampioensbossen we hoped for black woodpecker or siskin, but didn't find any.
We've just wrapped up our last location, where we had to see a northern shoveler, as we were still missing that on the list. And luckily for us, an adult white-tailed eagle came flying by, and it flushed all the ducks we couldn't see, and amongst them was a male northern shoveler, so species 126, and that will be the last species of the day. It was a very memorable day for us, with a lot of cool moments, like the long-eared owl, the badger, the wood warblers, the cranes, the hobbies. But there was still more we could have seen, like black and green lesser spotted woodpecker, for instance. A wryneck we didn't see, the short-toed eagle we didn't see. We could have had some more raptors like merlin, peregrine falcon, hen harrier or Montagu's harrier. And also we could have had more waders, for instance greenshank or spotted redshank. Now, if you liked the video, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because in the next video we're gonna do a big day again on Texel. See you then.